Hello and welcome to Empower Her, the program that celebrates the resilience, achievements, and challenges of women worldwide. I'm your host, Nwachinemere. Throughout history and even today, women, especially in Africa, have faced their fair share of challenges, of hurdles. However, this show is dedicated to applauding the extraordinary women breaking barriers against all odds and offering a guiding hand to those who need that extra push. Today, our spotlight is on equality on the field. Now, this is a topic that resonates deeply with women athletes across the globe, and particularly here in Nigeria. This is a subject of immense significance, especially in the context of sports, where women often battle for recognition and equal opportunities. We have two remarkable guests joining us today. One is a face you have probably seen here on Empower Her before. I'll give you a hint. She is a national referee. The last time we met, this woman told me that she could throw me down without breaking a sweat. God, I beg go. The other is a sportscaster, and he's a man. I know. I decided that we'll also hear a man's perspective in this. So today, they will share their wisdom and their insights on the pursuit of equality in the world of sports. To engage with us and to keep up with future episodes, follow us on Facebook at Spectrum NG and Twitter at Spectrum T Online. You can also connect with me directly on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn at Best Nwachinemere. Visit our website, spectrumtv.ng. We value your questions and comments. During the show, we'll do our best to address your inquiries live. And of course, after the program, you can continue the conversation on our social media platforms. For now, let's take a brief intermission. When we return, we'll delve into the data, exploring immense journey that lies ahead of the pursuit of equality. Welcome back to Empower Her, the program that embraces women of all ages, providing a platform to discuss, inspire, and celebrate our journeys. Hosts, Best Nwachinemere. Today, we shift our gaze onto the world of sports, where women have been breaking barriers, but not without their fair share of challenges. Let's dive right into the facts. According to global statistics, women constitute a significant portion of the world's population. But when it comes to sports, gender disparities persist. In many nations, women athletes continue to face unequal pay compared to their male counterparts. On the field, women's teams often shine. They often outperform their male counterparts and bring home medals. For example, in Nigeria, this time it's time to recognize the outstanding achievement of women in sports. However, the world of sports has not been taken without its dark side. There have been instances where women athletes face harassment, abuse, and unfair treatment, even they trusted the most their coaches. Talking of sexual harassment, there is Keramuddin Karim from Afghanistan, and we also have Lisa Divana. The list is endless. Such scenes have unfolded in the world of sports, where young women like Karim face harsh challenges and biases. These stories compel us to take a closer look at the state of inequality on the field. It's a journey filled with triumphs and tribulations, no doubt. Today, we explore the challenges that women face in sports. The global statistics reveal gender pay disparities and the inspiring achievements of women teams. We will also bring to light instances of harassment that should not go unnoticed. But before we continue, let's take a short break to reflect on the stories we've shared. Stay with us. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Empower. Now, let's explore the profound topic equality on the field. Equality on the field is not just about athletes chasing medals or scoring goals. It's about breaking down barriers that have existed for far too long. When women excel in sports, they challenge stereotypes and they inspire generations to come. They teach us that determination knows no gender. Okay, let's shift our focus to different perspectives. Did you know that in some countries, women's teams have outperformed their male counterparts? Yes, you heard that right. What does that tell you? It only reveals a thrilling truth. Women athletes are forces to be reckoned with. Their victories pave the way for a more inclusive and equal sporting world. And as such, they should be taken seriously. They should be taken as seriously as men's teams. Maybe if they were not doing well, we could use that as an excuse. But here they are doing a lot. Let's take a look at countries like Nigeria, where women's team thrive better than the men's. But even with that, women athletes still face discrimination, harassment, and inequalities. There's the EMPOWHER case. The star player said, and I quote, "We are the most successful female team in Africa. Yet, we have the largest disparities between men's and women's pay." What did her speaking out lead to? EMPOWHER's stance ultimately led to her being stripped of her captaincy. When did it become a crime to speak up? In Nigeria, female players are paid woefully less than their male, even though they have dominated more than the men. These stories are uncomfortable, to be sure, but they are essential to acknowledge. They remind us that the challenges that women in sports endure and the collective responsibility to eradicate them. There are still rainbows to be celebrated. For example, in the United States, we have the United States where women are paid the exact amount that men are paid. Now, that's the story that I want to hear, where women are respected, are valued, are seen. Of course, we cannot forget some of our women in sports who are making us proud day by day, like Aitana Bonmati. We, of course, have the amazing Toby Amusan, who just did it again and won the gold medal in the 100 meters event of the Diamond League. Lady, you are a powerhouse. We are all here cheering for you every day. One of the things I love about women is how we are always defying expectations and stereotypes. Today, she's a beacon of hope for young girls who dare to dream big. The story of Toby, like many others like her, reflects the essence of our conversation today. Equality on the field is not just a slogan. It's a movement. It's about nurturing talent, breaking boundaries, and making every young girl's dream possible. As we move forward, let's keep our stories in our hearts and remember that on the field, in sports, and of course in life, equality matters. Stay with us for more enlightening conversation ahead. We'll be back in a minute, and when we do, I'll introduce our guest for today. Welcome back. Of course, this is still Empower Her. I am thrilled that you have stayed with us on this inspiring journey. Before we dive into our conversation for today, a quick reminder to connect with us on social media for more empowering content. Follow us on Facebook at Spectrum NG and on Twitter at Spectrum T Online. Reach out to me directly on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn at Best Nwachinemere. You can also visit our website at spectrumtv.ng. We value your engagement and questions, so please don't hesitate to join the conversation. And now it is time to meet our distinguished guest for today's episode, where we explore the equality on the field through the eyes of two remarkable individuals. Please welcome our first guest. She is a trailblazer. This woman, this referee that told me that she's going to throw me down. And I am so proud of her, of how she's breaking boundaries and reshaping perceptions in the world of sports. Welcome, Miss Eyere Ekuta. Hello.
Hi, Best. How you doing?
I am
I
fine.
need to keep up to my promise today. After this, we're hitting out.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I'm not going to give you that chance.
I'll take it slow.
Of
Thank you
course,
for having me.
thank you. It is a pleasure to have you back on the program. And joining her is a seasoned male sportscaster whose passion for sports and insightful commentary have made him a respected voice in the industry. His name is Isaac, but he likes to be called Marizona. Hi, Marizona.
Thank you so much, Best. First of all, that accolade is too much, right? That's really too much. But it's good to be on the show, and feels good to be on this side. I haven't done anything apart from sports, right? So it feels good to be here.
Yeah, honor is given to he whom honor is due.
Yeah, the Bible says that, right? It's
Yeah.
beautiful. And good to have delectable Yere Kuta. She's a friend of mine. Most people don't know this. We've been friends for like 5 years.
Yeah, we go way back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way
So
back.
it's good to speak with her, and then not doing sports, right? It's beautiful.
So let's just call this a match made in heaven.
Yeah, more like a reunion if you like.
Yes, a reunion.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
It is an honor to have you both on Empower Her. And of course, our viewers are eager to hear your thoughts on equality on the field. I'll go first. Okay, now let's dive right into the conversation. I'll go first with Eyere. Can you share your personal journey in the world of sports? And of course, how you have witnessed the changes in gender equality over the years?
I'll start by saying I've been blessed. I was really privileged to be on the side of sports that I didn't really have to struggle too much. Even though I didn't struggle, I still saw people that went through a lot in order to make it in sports. In the light of my parents to start with, and my mom tells us a story when she was still competing, and then I still get to still have to make friends with other people in other sports that are also having it really difficult. I'm not saying it was really rosy for me, because definitely no one will come to the field and run for me. I would do that. But while I'll say mine was a little bit rosy, because I've heard other people's story and I know that mine wasn't that difficult. First, I grew up in a family where both parents are into sports. Like, sports is our living. So I was very, very used to waking up early to go for training. I remember when I was in my secondary school, right from primary school, when Dad picks us up from school, we go to the stadium and stuff. So there was a time in our secondary school when we were preparing for a competition. We wake up early in the mornings at 5. Dad will go with us for jogging. We come back, prepare, we go to school. From school, he will pick us up. We change up in the car because we close by 4 and training starts by 4. So we undress in the car as the car is on movement to the stadium for training, and then we just get there and we start training. Now, for some people, that they would say that was tedious for kids, but we actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then to punish us, like with my time for exams, she would now be like, okay, no training for this time, so that we would read. Like when it's close to exams, she gives us everyone in the gym, which is where we train other kids too. She gives us that 2 weeks before the exam break so that we could read and prepare for our exams. So it was quite easy for me. But for other people that didn't have people to like push them and be there for them and hold their hands, I'm pretty sure it wasn't that easy, especially when you have parents. And that time we were growing up, I used to see my parents going to kids' houses, like to go talk to their parents, to go sign a shorty or to go tell them that. And my parents, they really tried. They stood in as a father and mother for them in the world of sports. I remember growing up, there were rumors around that there were so many homosexuality in sports and sexual harassment. So parents were not letting their children, even the female children, into sports because they would think the coaches would harass them or would do what. So when my parents go in and then they're like, okay, we have our kids too doing it. When you see their kids and you see that we are doing sports when you see us jumping up and down, and so yes, it wasn't easy, but we thank God we're here right now.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. I did not actually see punishment in that. I just saw fun. You come back from school, you do the.
Well, the fact that you have to not have the chance to play with your friends, after school is a little bit. I wouldn't say I got into sports as a child, but I saw my friends who did sports, and it's a little tedious when you just cannot roll on the floor with your friends. It's tedious when you cannot just, go play hide and seek with your friends. You're training, for that particular sport. So I think that's just a part where it gets tedious.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I'm sure that it was fun all the way.
Best, let me let you in on something. When you're going through something, I'm not saying that it wasn't fun. The only part I said that wasn't fun was the part that has to do with us probably staying off training or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. But imagine waking up by 4
I can't.
or by 5 to
Yeah.
go jog.
As a child.
Consistently.
You understand? As a
Exactly. I
child.
want to sleep in.
You know 4 a.m., 5 a.m. is when you sleep, as a matter of
You
fact.
get,
You know,
and
it's when
then
you
sweet
sleep
is sweetest then.
as a child.
Yes,
So, and then the
yes.
cold of the morning, maybe it's December period, Hamatan season and all of
Yeah.
that. So,
And you still have to wake up and train.
Trust
and then to hear that telling you, okay, you're not going to train is a form of punishment. Oh wow.
yeah. it
Okay,
is.
now coming back to the conversation,
Yeah.
Marizona, how would you say that the presence of female athletes and of course referees like we have Ere here, how would you say that it has affected or impacted the dynamics of sports in general?
Yeah, but first of all, I have to lay a foundation. Yeah, Isaac here loves the women. You know, I love the fact that we're seeing women get into a lot of stuff. You know, 25, 30 years before now, you know, there was stuff that were just exclusively for the men. But we're seeing
Yes.
women creeping, you know, to the system. Recently at the World Cup, you know, we saw a woman officiate at the Men's World Cup, which was groundbreaking for me, talking football right now. And of course, recently, we also saw, a woman wear a hijab to a football tournament. So that was the first time ever. You know, so we're talking about women. So I think it's been remarkable, you know, from one end. It's been good to see women get into sports.
The inclusion.
The inclusion, see women get into wrestling, combat sports. Now women are doing UFC, fighting. As a matter of fact, you know, Yuri here is an example.
Mixed martial arts.
Yeah, she does
she's a
judo.
judoka.
Yeah, and she's good at it. As a matter of fact, 25, 30, 40 years before today, judo was for the men. Oh, it's too hard a sport for the women and all of that. So getting women to participate in all of these sports makes a lot of sense for me, and I think it's the groundbreaking thing. You know, although I have a few reservations as to, you know, what it has done to over time, but on a whole and on a flat basis, I think it's good. You know, because I sometimes growing up, I used to love to watch the ladies play, especially football and basketball, because it's a sport that, you know, requires a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking, a lot of calculation. For me, I think the ladies think and calculate faster than the men. It's subject to, you know, what they call it now, argument. But I think the ladies calculate faster than the men.
I like his face when he
No,
said that.
no, but that's the truth.
No.
I am not saying this. No, I am not.
Are you trying?
No, let's understand. Let's understand something. I'm not saying.
I
This
do
to,
agree with him though.
I do.
I am not saying this to patronize anybody.
Okay.
I'm saying what I think it's a fact. I'm saying what I think it's something I've observed over time, right? So I think the ladies do that as well.
Okay, now I do not have any doubts. I do not have any questions. I don't have any arguments over what he just said. So now coming back to you, Eyere, you already had this foundation.
Yes.
But what would you say is the toughest challenge that you have faced so far?
I would say, well, there are a lot. There are a lot. I would say surviving without being held. Like, you know, some people, they let go apparently try, you know, surviving without having someone to hold your hands. Especially when you grew up having to be spoon-fed and then now realizing at a certain age that the world is not as rosy as probably you thought
You
it
thought.
was. So now coming out and then standing up for yourself, speaking up for yourself, and then trying to pave your way and ultimately trying to just be you and trying to figure out how you can survive and how you can pull through. And then there's one thing that people don't really talk about is how sports people survive. You know, we most times in Nigeria where jobs like how I'm working hardly is not really
It's not a
it's not really a
thing.
thing yet. So imagine when you have to train probably in the morning and in the evening, or probably have to take excuse from where you're working so that you could go for a competition. And then your life is not balanced because competitions are always lined up probably from the beginning of the year. And imagine you're working in an establishment where you have to like go for competition every 3 months, like once in every 3 months. Which establishment will give you that kind of grace or luxury to like leave for like 10 to 12 days to a different place for competition? So now
Yeah.
that aspect is really, really tedious, but we are knocking ourselves out.
Yeah.
I know you would say, oh, you're supposed to be paid because of, but you would know that you have to work to a particular level in your sporting career in order to have that luxury of picking up what you want to do when you want to do it. So I think that's where a lot of people actually like mixed balance. Especially if you don't have people to assist you or to feed you or to house you. So now you're now struggling with either going to school, feeding yourself, also training to make a career in your sport. So I'm sure it's not just me that's facing that. Fans and 90% of athletes do face that. It's not easy.
Yeah, I would love to say something, and it's something Area has not said, and that's the fact that Nigeria as a country, we're backwards when it comes to sports development in the country, right? For instance, judo, the sports she participates in.
Yeah.
For the kind of athletes Area is, and I'm not saying this again to patronize her, she should be participating in top competitions consistently, right? But we do not have the structures. We're trying to get a structure. The federal government too should basically maybe fund this sport. It's not giving it the attention it deserves, right? So sometimes, they rely on, because by virtue of being a sports journalist, I have to talk to a lot of sports people, and a few of them, get, private sponsors who sometimes can be very difficult, very, very cumbersome to convince, because we're talking hundreds or thousands of naira. How do you convince somebody to splash out that cash for you? What am I getting in return? And all of that, Eric can attest to that fact.
And it's not like you're getting the needed coverage to make it exciting enough for people to invest in. So
some sports in this country still needs a lot of rejigging, a lot of attention, like judo, which I think is a fine sport. Like what they call it now, we're talking basketball. Basketball in the country is at its all-time low right now, because the men's basketball team could not qualify for anything. We're looking at track and field sports. We're looking at basically most sports. The only sports working, we know, it's football. Even at that, it has its
limits,
exactly.
Its setbacks.
That's a problem. So Nigeria as a country is not ready to fund sports, to do sports in the actual sense of funding, facilities, development, scouting young talent, and of course participation in top competitions across the world.
Now look at her. She's a fine judoka and she's a national referee. So now, how do you navigate the field of command and authority in this field, considering that it is so men dominated?
I think growing up in a field where it's mostly men, it's part of.
It's not anymore.
Hold on.
It's not anymore.
Hold on.
No, but it's not anymore.
Let me ask you one very quick question.
All right.
At the tip of your finger, can you mention Akwa Ibom State female referees? Like 3.
Yeah, but
I'll start with you.
If you say male, I'm pretty sure you can have like more than.
But I can give you 2 names right now.
Okay.
Female referees. Mfonakpan, Eyerekuta.
Yes.
Because
she's like a mother, like she's a reckon, she's a first reckon, which she's actually like doing so well. She's also a FIFA referee.
FIFA batch referee from Akwa Ibom State. Yeah.
She's also my role model. So now that's on the way. So now that is by.
No, but how would I answer the question?
But she said 3. You only giving said 2. But you know that what she's talking about is that you can actually, without thinking about it so much, name at least 5 male referees.
I understand that.
So she's right when she says that it is male dominated.
Well, here's the thing. 15 years ago.
We are talking 15 years ago. We are talking about 2023.
Right. Male dominated, I agree.
Thank you.
Arizona, I see your angle and I see how you really, really want to show everyone. Yes, 15 years ago, let's take it was 80-20. But as at 2023, where the media and everything has actually come up, I think right now we have, let's say 60-40.
Definitely, I think it's like 55-45.
So we are straightening the curve.
No. Don't dig it that deep.
Don't negotiate. She's not going to let you.
Because on one side they are giving more space, like women are being encouraged, women are being, come up, you can do this, you can do that, know that. But now the women here on this other end, how are they coping with it? How are they coming in? If you're not sport oriented and then you come into sport, you will not understand how certain things work and you might run away, especially if you're not being treated well. And for instance, I've had conversation with some athletes in which they are sport outing with sport officials. They were not properly taken care of. Mm-hmm. They would go there, have you ever traveled with the team before? Where you see where they sleep?
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
You know the pain.
I understand
and then you
that.
don't leave your house, then come for a competition, you're taken elsewhere, and they're probably not properly taken care of.
I think we're being fair to the men. Now, what Yeri is saying, the men go through that as well. I have traveled a lot. I went with the Akwa Ibom State team at last year's National Sports Festival. At some point, I had to shut down. I saw what happened. With other teams, not Akwa Ibom State.
But now we are not talking about the men.
Now, my point is, remember when I talked about Nigeria not being ready So it's a national thing, and then the treatment in quote goes both ways. The men suffer, the ladies suffer.
Now, we are not arguing the fact that the men do suffer, but you still cannot say that they suffer 50-50.
Now, I don't understand this 50-50 conversation. Now, for instance,
because all we're talking about is leveling the playing field.
For instance,
we are not saying that we're just fighting for women here.
Yeah.
We're just saying that if men are getting this,
I see his angle.
If men are getting this, women should also be.
For instance, three of us are here right now, and then let's say a flood comes in here right now. All of us are suffering from the same flood. There's no percentage. That's what I'm saying. So when we want to talk about the men-women disparity, let's understand that, first of all, this is Nigeria, where sports as a country is a problem. So the men and the women suffer.
The men and the women do suffer, but then let us bring it home to the pay gap.
All right,
are you going to say that there is no pay gap?
You wanted to say something here?
Yes. I wanted to clarify something on Marizona's part.
Yeah.
Now you're saying that, yes, they travel, both of them face the same things.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to give you from a female perspective. Imagine we go to a competition and then we are all hosted in probably classrooms, not even hosted classrooms. Now the male counterpart, they can literally just wear a shirt, stand outside, have their bat, go for the competition, train. Now we the ladies, especially when we're not,
we don't have that luxury.
Now, and then another thing, we're not left in the open. When a robbery is going on, yes, the girls, the guys, their phones will be stolen, but you know how the girls have to suffer. Now, I'm not saying that both men and women don't go through apparently maybe the same thing, but I was bringing in the perspective of women being into sport, like wanting to come into sport, and then probably not getting that kind of welcoming and that kind of experience that would make them on their own want to go through that again. It's not the same.
No, I'm not even a sportswoman, but imagine if I was menstruating and then you keep me there. In a classroom, you say, and I can't sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can't even take care of myself properly. I do not have that protection.
Right.
Next time, I wouldn't want to go.
Let's understand something. I think we're all seeing the same thing from different perspectives. Here is talking about the ladies and what they suffer.
That's why we are here.
What I'm saying is...
that is what we are here for.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is the problem is not the fact that there is a preference of the men over the women. The problem is the fact that the country, as Nigeria, we do not have enough, because she's talking about, bathing facilities. If there was a proper bathing facility, the ladies won't stress about bathing outside.
Okay,
right?
then.
So the fact that the boys are bathing outside, it's actually a bad thing. It's not even nice.
It's a bad thing, yes, but it's worse when you make women go through that.
That's the truth, and that's because of the country
we
are in.
And so since you say that there is no preferential treatment, let me now bring it over to the gender pay gaps. It is an ongoing issue. Are you going to say that it is not an issue?
Well, here's the thing. I try as much as possible. Even if you watch my shows on TV, I don't talk about pay, because there's a lot. Pay is about money. Let's settle that. There's a lot that goes into the conversation of pay. Now, football, first of all, is an investment. Not football, sports as a whole is an investment, right? And for instance, now, the chairman of this company, for instance, employs presenters to come in, for instance, and then, of course, pays them salaries. But also, the presenters would have to put in a lot, and earn the money they get, right? The presenter has to have to earn the money they get.
I can see where this is going.
I'm coming.
You want to come from the angle of FIFA?
Let me land.
FIFA, not making it known.
Just let me land, please. Just let me land.
I know the angle is coming.
I know the angle is coming from.
Just let me land.
Please
land. Good. So the presenters have to earn the money they get, right? Good. And now, sometimes, in the era we are right now, presenters can actually, make money for the station, through getting sponsorship deals in, getting jingles in, and all of that. So the money goes back to the station, right? And then from there, they pay the presenter, right? Let's come to sports. Now, I am not going to blame this on the ladies. And as a matter of fact, it's changing gradually. In sports, it's an investment as well. And the investors want reward for the money they get. They want the, what they call it now, return of investment.
Yes.
So whatever they invest into sports, they want to get somehow back. Now, how do investors make money? The biggest investors in sports are media organizations, TV stations that buy licensing deals to show sports games. Other companies that get into the sports games, and then how do they make money? From viewership. primarily, sports gets most of its funds from viewership. Now, are you going to say that sports, I'll ask you, between the men's sports and women's sports, which gets more viewership?
Yes, and that
The
is
men's
where,
sports.
and that is where media
I'm
comes
going
in.
somewhere. I'm going somewhere. Between the men's sports and the women's sports, which gets more viewership? The men's sports. Right? Now, go back to what I said. Return for investment. So the investors invest more into the men's sports because it has more viewership. That's why they pay the men the more. That's the conversation. Now, like I said, I'm not saying this is an equality conversation. I'm just saying the issue of gender pay gap is a tricky one because it's about investment and return for investments. Thank you very much.
But that's you coming from the angle of seeking promotions and other external bodies. We are talking about the government. We are talking about the sports council. We are talking about the people that are actually supposed to make these people. Okay, I'm going to come back right on. As I mentioned before, between the Bomangels and the Aqua United. Yes, the male sports industry, the male football team, yes, they go for more competitions. They are, more big and everything. But the female football club would have also been probably close to that if they were still not using athletes that they got from probably 2016 or 2018 on that 15 team, because most of the athletes that are there, most of the players that are there, I met them when they were going for their youth games and they are still there. And then getting new players is really difficult. And then the pay that the state government is paying them. Right. Arizona, please explain to me
now,
how that.
Sweetie, let's talk about something.
Okay.
Now, Ayire Kuta,
yes.
Let's talk about something. Now, when we talk, the explanation I gave explanation from an international perspective, the global standard, how it should be, right?
No, but that's not what we're talking about.
I know, I'm coming.
Okay.
What I said was how it should be, the global standard, the international standard, right? Okay. But now, you've brought it down to Nigeria. So now, when you bring it to the context of Nigeria, let's talk about the Nigerian situation, where sports originally is a problem. That's one. And then secondly, because of the fact that sports is a problem in the country, so investors do not even invest into sports. So sports is now left to the hands of government. Now, government is not going to invest into sports. That's the truth in this country. Because this government is run by politicians. And politicians run by interest. And their interest will not be in sports. Right? So that's a basic thing. So as long as we keep talking about governments wanting to invest into sports, it's not going to happen. And our sports people will still suffer. That's the thing. So Nigeria, in this case, is the problem.
Okay. So now you would agree that women are also at the, you should say the word.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying.
Or do you not agree?
Oh, she's putting you on the spot.
This is not a conversation of.
She's putting you on the spot.
No, because
Ladies,
it took over 10 minutes to explain why it is not their fault. And then now you're coming back with, okay, yes, it's all their fault.
No, it's not. You're misunderstanding me. No, she's misunderstanding me.
What I would ask is,
I am throwing all of the blame on the Nigerian situation.
And not the government. The Nigerian situation, excluding the government. And excluding the people playing the actual game. And excluding the men. But the Nigerian situation.
Let's talk about
so that means we are talking about the Nigerian field.
We all know.
Let me say something.
Arizona, hold on. One minute.
Right.
We are here because we know that is an issue.
Exactly.
We know that Nigerian situation is an issue.
Exactly.
We know that we are also coming up.
Right.
We know that we are trying our best. We know that the women, they are struggling to be heard.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, are you not seeing the obvious disposition of the women and the men?
No.
You are not seeing it.
Here's my point. I'm not saying.
Are you seeing it or not?
Here's my point.
But you're not seeing it.
Okay,
here's my point. Now, let's give an example. The USA, for instance. Now, do you think that gender equality is a thing in the USA?
But they pay equal.
That's what I'm saying, because the structure there is a lot more finer. They have a proper sporting structure, so everything goes well. So whether the men get or not, it's not a thing, because they get equally, because the structure in the country supports sports at the basic level. That's what I'm saying. So
this structure,
what we here are sitting here and interpreting as gender equality is just a problem caused by Nigeria. So if you fix the foundation of our country and make sports a basic thing, provide facilities, develop different sports, invest into sports would not, trust me, would not talk about gender pay.
So at the end of the day, is it the Nigerian government's fault?
Or the Nigerians?
Nigeria. But problem is the country. Because here's what I'm saying. You know that the former
disputing that
the former minister of sports,
yes,
Sunday Dare, and the one before him, Solomon Dalong, they messed up sports in this country because they were not sports, but they were politicians. They just got into that place and wanted to just make money. So they forgot about the ideal interest, which is sports. And sports suffered. And in turn, the ladies suffered. That's the conversation. Yes, the ladies suffered.
I would agree with him. Everyone actually did suffer.
That's my point.
But now, Marizona, what we are doing right now is we're trying to enlighten the public. We are trying to tell them what's going on. We're trying to tell our own politicians, our Nigerians,
I agree,
what is going on.
Except the government, because it's not their fault, according to Marizona.
My point.
Know what is going on, how people are suffering, how the women are eager to come forward, how people want to actually do sports, but the assistance is not there. So I think we are here to actually let their voices be heard.
My point is ladies,
your point.
My point is, right? While we're enlightening the public and telling them about the seeming disparity, let's not forget that in the context of this conversation, we're in Nigeria, and sports in Nigeria is a problem.
And guess what? We aren't even talking just about Nigeria. The fact that we're using Nigeria as a main focus doesn't mean that this is just in Nigeria. I mean, in all the countries of the world, the United States of America is the only country where men and women are being paid equally. Yet, Marizona is saying that maybe in Venezuela it's just because of Nigerian structure. Okay, now that's good. What initiative or changes have you, Marizona, observed in recent years that is promoting gender balance?
First of all, I'll start with not entirely an initiative, but it's a development. Now, women's sport is getting a lot of viewership right now, a lot of media attention right now. And more viewership, more media attention equals more investment and more money for the ladies, right? So I think that makes sense. Recently at the World Cup, there was stadiums were now packed. People came out en masse to watch women play football, which is a landmark thing. The same thing with the Cricket World Cup recently for the women. People came out en masse to watch women. Rugby, the same story. The World Athletics Championships in Oregon, there's a stat right now that, the women had more viewership in their sports than the men. The discus throws, the track and fields and all of that. It means that the ladies are getting what they deserve.
Yeah, come back to Nigeria.
And now,
that's my problem. So now you're talking initiative. So let's start with Nigeria. First of all, I haven't seen anything that has been deliberately, skewed for the benefit of the ladies, right? But also haven't seen anything skewed for the benefit of sports in this country. That's the thing. Now we have a Nigerian women's football league that's set to start next month in October or in November, as a matter of fact. And up till now, let me give you some form of comparison. When the last season was supposed to start, the Nigerian Men's Football League, every team got 10 million naira each. The men's football team, they got 10 million naira each. Now, I was somehow expecting that for the ladies as well when their league starts. But up until this moment, there's nothing talked about as far whether the ladies are going to get money. So these are the issues. And this is why people like my dearly beloved area here would say that there's a disparity. But if you look at it, it's just Nigeria being Nigeria.
But that is a disparity.
But that's
it's not.
They paid the men, they didn't pay the women.
And it is affecting the women.
Well, recently,
so why is Nigeria being Nigeria not affecting both the men and the women?
I'll tell you something for a fact.
Okay.
Now, I got the opportunity. I don't know if I should say this on TV, but I got the opportunity to see the NFF budget for next year. The NFF budget, that's the Nigerian Football Federation, the budget for next year. Trust me, there is more than R1 billion for the ladies there.
Okay, we are so looking forward to that next year, but we're talking about this year because Shabina people will go compete next year. So now this is the question.
Yeah.
This gender pay gap that we're talking about, if you are a woman, would you even think of pursuing a career in sport, knowing that there is a pay gap, and sometimes they don't even get paid at all? I know that the last time that we hosted a here, she talks about how sometimes you go a long time without getting your pay. So how is this pay gap and how is owing them affecting the future of sports here in Nigeria?
All right, so I'll give you two instances, Nigeria and the world. I like to do that. Now, first of all, the basics in the country, sports is a problem. But in the midst of sports being a problem and the lady is suffering, Area Ekota has excelled. Right? She has excelled. Enku Ekota, her sister, has excelled as well. You know, so in the midst of all of these struggles, women are still excelling. We're talking to Amusan, Ese Brume, Bless no Kagbari. Right? We're looking at, Favor of Philly.
And for people that are not based in the country?
No, but they started in the country.
Each woman he mentioned,
No, they started in the country. All
All
right, okay, let's come back up. Ima Bong Seoko. We saw her running in Akwa Ibom State. Ruth Usoro. Athletes in the state. They've thrived in the midst of all of the problems. That's the conversation. So,
but women do that. We break barriers a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Then we have to fight 2 times harder than the men. We have to struggle 2 times harder than the men. We have to run 2 times longer than the men.
Well,
farther rather.
I think if Eri said that, right? Maybe I would. I don't know if I would argue, right? But at the end of the day, I think we're being unfair to the men. The men stress themselves. I have friends who are athletes. I have friends.
No one is saying that it's very
That they don't
rosy
stress
for the men.
themselves.
Yes.
We are not saying that it's very easy.
That is
for
not
them.
even a
We are not
conversation.
saying that because you're a man, so when one is 100 meters race, that you will not. Of course, you meet other men in your category that they're really going to beat you hands down if you don't train.
So what's the 2 times
Now-
harder that Best
And
is
then,
talking
and
about?
then we are not staging a war against the men. We are not. That is not what we are here to do. We are just fighting to flatten the curve.
Right.
So that we are not women, rather, especially women in sports. They don't have to fight harder to get what should rightfully belong to them. You know, you talked about how women don't get much viewership and much sponsorship. I do agree with you, and that is a big challenge. But then, are they giving in as much as the men?
If the women are giving in as much
As the men.
Now, here I would ask you, particularly.
Please.
For instance, come on.
Ask me.
Come on.
I'm
Now,
here to answer your questions.
you're a referee,
Yes.
right? And that's a football referee, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, you've watched the men's game.
Yes.
You've seen, in this case, a lot of people watching the men's game. For instance, you go officiate a game in town, and then you see the amount of viewership.
Yes.
So, viewership, right, also motivates performance. Do you agree?
Yes.
Because you realize that a lot of people are watching. They're talking. So you put in a lot to impress the people watching.
Crowd.
In the ladies' game, there is minimal viewership.
But that doesn't mean they
There's-
don't put in their best.
No, they do.
Okay.
They do. I was trying to answer best question.
Continue.
They put in a lot, actually. And for me, I think the ladies deserve better than they're getting right now.
Oh, okay.
This is me talking.
Okay.
But also, as long as Nigeria is still like this and sports is not seen as a necessity in the country, would never get to where we want to be. That's the conversation. So we talk about the ladies and all of that. While we want to look at gender equality, let's see Nigeria as the, in quote, oga patakpata of the problem.
Okay.
Marizana, let me help you again so that I will remind you. We know very well that men they get, but we're doing this so that people would know that women are also in sports.
And
Yeah.
they're
So
doing
that
they are
would know
doing
that
the
women
most.
are doing good.
They
So
are
that
working
other people
hard.
out there would know. So that when they say women are playing this, people will be like, oh, I heard in EMPOWHER that we have a choir bomber like this, and they would also go.
But
So this is an opportunity.
he's trying so hard to make it a
No,
war
no,
a war
no,
against
no,
the
come on,
men.
come on.
We don't do that
Now,
here.
an official,
See what he's doing now?
Yeah.
You're jumping both.
right?
You're jumping from, okay, yes,
we
both men and
are
women
trying
suffer
to empower
in
women.
there.
So
And
let's
then
not
also
talk
jumping
about
into-
women. Let's
No,
not talk about
exactly.
women. Let's focus on the men. That's what you're trying
No,
to do.
no, definitely
You are
not.
shifting the focus,
No,
and that's a fact.
now-
It's tough on everyone. It's
Yeah, it
tough.
is. Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
very good. Okay, very good, Barizona. Now let's talk about sexual harassment.
Right.
Good. So sexual harassment, it remains a concern, especially in various fields of sporting activity,
I agree
not
with
just
you.
in football. Can you shed a light on instances or trends of sexual harassment faced by women in sports?
Yeah, I'll tell you something very recently. If you go on social media now, go on Google and type Kissgate. Yeah, just type Kissgate. It'll take you to what happened last month at the FIFA Women's World Cup final.
Yes.
Now, the story is that England played against Spain in the final, and Spain somehow won the competition. Now, and then as part of the trophy presentation where the players passed and then there'll be won medals, the president of the Spanish Football Federation, which is a man, He's now resigned actually because of the pressure.
Yeah, he resigned.
You know, his name is Louis Rubiales. He was part of the delegates handing in medals to players, and then he held one of his players and kissed her.
On the lips.
You know,
On
kissed
the
her
lips.
on
Person
the
wife.
lips. Not somebody's wife though.
I
You know, but
future wife.
yeah, her name is Yene Hermoso, player, kissed her. Now that incident has sparked a lot of uproar on social media the day after and all of that. And the problem was it brought in so much interpretations. The pro Rubiales, that's the man, the kisser in quotes, he said, "Oh,
Mr. Kisser.
yeah." He initially came out and said, "Well, it was just a burst of emotions. You know, I was just too happy and all of that." But on the other hand, you can express your happiness in every other way apart from kissing a lady on her lips.
lips.
You know, and then there was so much uproar. At some point, he was asked to resign. Initially, he said he was not going to resign, that he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, that it was consensual. But
and
the
all
woman
of that.
is saying no.
Yeah,
and
the
you know
lady.
that what this does is that it brings out more cases that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
The last time I remember Ere saying that, who is going to say?
Yeah, I remember that as well.
Are you going to be the one to talk,
say, yeah.
to say, I was sexually harassed?
Yeah.
So now this has happened in front of everyone. What does that tell you about what has been going on behind the scenes that we do not know about?
Yeah, actually, a lot has been going down from what I read and what I see. You know, in Zambia, I like to give you recent instances because this is my field,
Yes,
and there's a lot I can talk about here. At this same FIFA Women's World Cup, preparation for the World Cup, the Zambian national team had a problem because we heard that the coach of the side was allegedly touching the girls.
Oh,
The coach is a man. He was touching the girls. Now, here's what I think holistically. I feel there should be sterner punishment for men that engage in sexual harassment of the women in sports, especially coaches. It doesn't make any sense for me.
yeah, it doesn't make any
Because,
sense.
come on.
I've read a lot.
Yes,
I've read
it's-
a lot
it's a poor
of
thing.
cases online, and some people will go as far as telling you to please hide their identity. That they
Exactly.
don't want it to be known.
Exactly.
I am the victim, and I do not want to talk out. That is how deep this cankerworm has eaten.
That's the truth.
So now we have to talk about preventive measures. Now, to you, you are a woman and you are already in this field. How can sports organizations, how can sports organizations and governing bodies, how can they take proactive steps to prevent sexual harassment and, of course, to create a safe environment for female athletes and their officials, of course, like you?
All right, let me burst your bubble a little. Men also get harassed.
Of course they do.
So the word of
I owe you.
I
owe you whatever,
Except for you, relax.
whatever you want after the show. I'll give it to you.
Okay. Now, and I think why is also very pressing and very agonizing is you want to pursue a career in sports, probably athlete-wise, and then the only way and path in which you could do that is just one way. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You only have one path to it. Meaning that if this coach doesn't enlist you, or if this coach doesn't say, okay, you can compete in this level, or if this coach doesn't do this, or people around you, they don't do this or do that, there's no way you go for, like, you're preparing for a competition that probably they might be leaving tomorrow for the competition. And then as a little girl, the coach, probably after your training, calls you to one corner and is like, fine, let me buy you this, let me buy you that, and gives you this. You know very well that if you go and tell somebody that this coach is doing this to you, and then they now come and like they confront him, he will definitely deny it. But when that is done and then those people go, obviously you're not traveling. You are definitely not going anywhere. When you talk about other people in other aspects, now I think for this to be done properly, number one, there should be other opportunities for athletes. Like in the foreign scenes, I follow other sports like swimming, gymnastics, not just football. But in football, you could have like other teams where okay, you are good, so you could go try out for another team, and then that could be like another stepping stool for you to actually achieve what you want. But when you're in a position where you only have one way to go, like in the Yola Akwa Ibom State, they might have like only one swimming team. You might only have maybe only one coach or only one this, and then the coach is like using that as a liberty. So I would say like one of the preventive measures, aside from giving athletes having opportunities to come up and speak up, is coaches or people that have been accused, they should be properly investigated. They should be dealt with, as in the penalties should be straight up that this is going to happen. And then there should be bodies that would actually hide the identity of these victims, so that their speaking up will not make them lose some certain, like, lose some years in their careers and everything. And then there should be bodies that would actually fight for them, go to the extreme of either making it worth their while. So now that starts, that might work.
I'm just concerned with two things best that area has said. First of all, stern punishment for people, for offenders. They should be banned from the sport, tried in court, prosecuted, and then spend some time in jail. That's one. And then secondly, protection, because these ladies go through a lot, right? Sadly, we cannot talk about her here, but I have a friend who was harassed by her coach, football coach, right, in this country. And then it took her a while to come out and speak. She was threatened by the man's sons, the man's colleagues. It took a lot, but we took the issue up, and thankfully he's in jail right now. But her career went down the drain because, nobody wanted to take her anymore and all of that. So that's the thing. There should be protection for the victims of all of this. Yeah. And for the men too, please.
Yes,
thank you. Empower him.
So at the end of the day, we agree on one thing: empower us. Yeah. And this is still empower her. And today we have been talking about equality on the field. We still have an exciting and insightful conversation ahead. So stay with us as we explore the fascinating world of equality on the field with our distinguished guests after the short break. Welcome back, and now let's continue our conversation. Now, from your perspective, Eyere, what strategies or policies do you think can help? I'm coming back to gender gap, pay gap, to bridge this bridge of pay gap.
There's one thing we do in referee that I really, really admire. In referee, it's not really, really long that female came up, so it's mainly like men kind of stuff. But even as a female, when I go for competitions or when I go to officiate, I'm regarded as a man. So now if yes, you say okay, for the fact that an athlete or an official or whatever has been able to get to that position, which is of being an elite athlete or being to that pro level in a profession, if you want to be okay, you don't want to see whether she's a woman or she's a man, they should be equal pay. Like, for the fact that they have been able to reach that level, gender should not be looked at. If gender should be looked at, then the female should be paid more.
And that's the conversation that I'm sure Marizona
would not want
to. He's not ready for that.
I'd rather not speak. But just to add here, talking about gender pay gap and all of that, I'm concerned about the development of sports in the country, because I feel like, as long as we are just cutting the branches, we're not dealing with the roots, it will still grow again. That's the thing. So I want us to deal with the roots, and the root of this issue is the fact that sports in the country is at its all-time low. So if sports is properly developed like the USA, for instance, we have facilities, we have everything in place, particularly, you'd see that there would be money in the sports enough to go around. That's the thing.
And now, talking about uprooting it straight from the root, let us also look at sexual harassment. What ways or what policies do you think, apart from going to jail and all of that, should be implemented? Because ERA said that there can be other teams that will be willing to take the victim in. But you know that sometimes these leaders, they are in groups. So if you call one out, the next person is going to ask you, you're coming to my team? Come and call me out as well.
Best, let me share something. There's something I've noticed most of female pro athletes, and probably in the likes of my mom, in the likes of our mommy, Tifa, there's something that they do, which is what most female or most women that have gotten to that level, and what I am also planning to do when I get to that level. It's when they have gotten to that level, they have seen the pains that they went through in order to get to that level, and then they come back and help the younger ones. They come back and grow. They come back and whenever I'm training with Fanfonapan, there's a way, even when I'm training with the guys, there's a way there's a way someone will motivate the ladies.
Continue.
Okay.
Motivate you.
Yeah, there's a way someone will motivate you, and then probably when you're training in the gym, and then my mom is there, and then there's a way they relate with the lady because they know.
And you feel so odd because this is somebody that has gone farther than me and is treating me like this, then I have the energy to want to be there.
So now, what I'm trying to say is that the women probably, I know that there are sports women organization, yes, but they should come up more and show face, and then if you are good in this field, come back and actually let these little ones be there, so that if they have issues with the male coaches, they can always turn to the female coaches.
Yeah,
I agree.
know that they have
I agree.
Imagine a
I
team
totally
where,
agree.
where they have just male, and maybe they're traveling out of the country, and then it's just men that are in the managerial committee.
Yeah.
The females might not be that very open and comfortable to share stuff with. So now the women, which is I'm also like soliciting that the women that are there, they should like come back and like, you don't have to do much. Just come out to the training venue, like tell them what to do, give them that cheering. No, if ladies see more women, like they would really want to push. Like
Yes,
my mom and lots of
yes,
women in sport, they
yes.
really, you know, when I see them, they're like, I want to be there. And then when I get there, even now that I'm not there, I try to like these younger ones around me, I try to like talk to them, go for training, call them. You know, that association of us coming together might actually go a long way in reducing it.
Yeah, and that is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, to you, Marizona, you are a sports journalist. What role can sports media play in shaping the perception and, of course, promoting gender equality in the sporting industry? And also, since you said that we need more viewership and more sponsorship to be able to get equal pay, and to do that, we need the help of the media.
Yeah, I know what Ayere did right now, and I'm going to start from there. First of all, I put myself in this equation as well as every other sports journalist, maybe in Nigeria. Truth is, we report less of women's sports, and that's not nice.
That's not nice,
frankly speaking. But in the context of Nigeria, how many women's sports, do we see going on a consistent basis? Let the media people, TV stations, radio stations, journalists report more of women's sports. Let's go out there and cover the sports, interview the ladies, get their voices to be heard, and I think it will make a lot of sense.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marizona, for being here. It's been an enlightening journey.
I hope to have you on my show one of these days as well.
Oh, you don't want that?
I hope to.
You're paying back, right?
And thank you so much, Aaron, for being here again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And so, guys, as we draw this enlightening episode of Empower Her to a close, we've explored the dynamic worlds of sports from a fresh perspective, thanks to Marizona and thanks to Ere Ekuta. Our journey today has been filled with insights, stories, and conversations about equality on the field. Throughout this conversation, we've had our esteemed guests share their wisdom, and we've unearthed the need for change, for greater gender equality, and for safer, more inclusive sporting environment. It is clear that we stand at a pivotal moment in history where the collective voices of athletes, officials, and advocates are reshaping the landscape of sports. But the journey doesn't end here. It's a journey that requires all of us as fans, as athletes, as leaders to champion equality on the field. It's a journey that demands change in policies, attitude, and perceptions. So, as we wrap up our today's episode, let's remember that equality on the field is not just about sports. It's about the values we hold as a society. It's about the dreams we nurture in young girls and boys, Marizona, who dare to believe they can achieve anything. I encourage you all to keep the conversation alive, share your thoughts, stories, and solutions on how we can make the world of sports a more equal playing field. Join us on Facebook at Spectrum NG, on Twitter at Spectrum T Online, and of course, to continue the dialogue, reach out to me directly on social media at Nwachinemere, or visit our website spectrumtv.ng to access more empowering content. And always remember, it's a collective action, big and small, that propel us towards the equality on the field and beyond. Thank you for being a part of this empowering journey today. Together, we can and we change the game. Until next time, stay inspired, stay empowered, and continue to empower her. This has been Empower Her, and I am Best Nwachinemere signing off.